king, a tidal wave. Essence perfect, life looks brilliant. Give me more of this. I'm out of control, about to blow, and I've been caught in the undertow. So toxic, but I can't get enough. You're burying me, burying me. Yeah, you're burying me, burying me. You've got me hypnotized. Push me out of myself. You've got me hypnotized. I can see, I can hear, going crazy by the light. It's got me hypnotized. You've got me hypnotized. There you are at my hand again. Is it wrong? Is it right? It's like I've won my final war without a fight. I'm out of control, about to blow. I've been caught in the undertow. Toxic, but I can't get enough. You bury me, bury me. I know you bury me, bury me. You've got me hypnotized. Push me out of myself. You've got me hypnotized. I can see, I can hear, going crazy.
Please note,
Never gonna stop, never gonna change, never gonna do the things you say. I run my own way to get there. Pulls a coin and I don't seem to care. In the air, no more crowd, just the opposite kind of few clouds. Tell me the storm is coming, for the sake of all your lies. Why don't you try to be wise? Know that I need you anyway. Just to feel like I'm fading. And though my heart breaks a beat of sound, I press the lens just to take you. Don't lead the way.
Hello, everyone, or should I say, ho, 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 everyone, and welcome to this Christmas edition of Marvel Talk. I am, of course, OLED Ed Fries, and that is 2/3 of a Deadpool signature over there with my good friend Andre.
Literally 2/3 of it. I cut off part of it. Yeah. I'm glad
How
you
you
caught
doing,
that.
my friend Andre?
I'm doing great, man. Merry Christmas to all y'all watching this. If you're watching this on the Christmas Day release of this show, I'm doing fine. Very tired. Been just a busy, just a day. It's been a day. Let's just say that.
It's been a busy week for us, man. We're
Mm-hmm.
at this point, we are about 3, maybe 4 episodes into What If. We are heading straight through this to head into 5 or 6 more episodes of What If. We've got a fantastic 2025 on the horizon. You've got World's End this weekend.
Holy moly. I have World's End this weekend. So I'm planning to try to sleep most of the day on Saturday. Wake up,
Sure.
watch World's End, and then also try to put a Japanese wrestling update out with you at some point during that day.
Not
Try to
with me.
sleep-
I will not be on.
No, sorry, not Japanese. A Marvel talk out with you that day about What If, and then try to do it. I want to try to sleep as much as I can that day. Watch World's End, do a post show, and then jump over to the Stardom site to watch Stardom's Dream Queendom live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're not here to talk about all that. We are here right now to talk about Once Upon a Deadpool. This is a fantasy retelling in a PG-13 setting of the R-rated movie Deadpool 2.
In the Princess Bride style.
Yes, with Fred Savage as an adult in a studio room that looked like the studio that was filmed years and years ago for The Princess Bride. It was inconceivable, but it happened.
Inconceivable.
So yeah, let's get into this and talk about this. The movie opens with Deadpool trying to wake up Fred Savage.
Oh, so good. He has kidnapped him. He wakes him up. Fred Savage is freaking out because he's been kidnapped.
No, he did not kidnap him. He strategically relocated him.
Okay, he strategically relocated Fred Savage. And then it reveals that he's been like taped to the bed, which will play into later in the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
I love it. And then he's going to read him a story, just like in The Princess Bride, that the grandfather read the story to him. He's going to read him the story of Deadpool 2, but in a very neutered setting.
Yeah. It was intriguing to say the least. I enjoyed this because at the beginning of this movie, they continue to do this throughout the movie. Fred continues to point out that this isn't Marvel. And Deadpool continues to correct him and he goes, yes, we are Marvel. And he's like, well, Marvel licensed by Fox.
So good. So, like, perfection. And there's so many shots at the X-Men verse, through the X-Men universe throughout this movie from Fred Savage, who keeps taking shots like, oh, this is why I like Marvel movies. This is why I watch real Marvel and shit. Like, he makes all these comments throughout, and it's so good.
Yeah, and so we begin the movie, and we cut out the entire portion where he's going around the world killing people. We cut all that out because it's not for the PG-13 audience that we're trying to tell here.
Well, they only show him shooting people in the one warehouse, chasing down the one guy. That's it.
Yeah, which is honestly, I didn't miss the rest of it. Like, I like the Dolly Parton 9 to 5 intro, but I didn't miss it.
No, I've seen that movie how many times, so it's in my head, so I know what's supposed to be there. But it was still good here. Yeah.
One of the things I want to talk about with this movie in general is I love the creative choices they used to get around things that happened in this movie that would not be portrayable in a PG-13 setting. Mm-hmm. They don't necessarily cut everything. They use alternative cuts or long shots that may have ended up on the cutting room floor on the original edit to do this. Like when he shoots the guy in this warehouse and the blood splatters on the camera for the bunker room that he gets in. Mm-hmm. You don't see that. You just see him coming up with the gun. You hear the gunshot. You see the guy react to it. And then you see the guy on the floor after the lens has been cleaned.
Yeah. There's so many great re-edits in there. And then there are scenes where people are getting shot that I remember being very bloody from the original movie, that they have taken a lot of the blood out.
Yeah. We get the basic stuff where he goes back to Vanessa. The guys come in to try to kill him again.
Well, that's not yet. Because they make the joke and they do the kissing. They do the kiss.
Oh yeah.
And this is where Fred Savage, he's looking at Fred and he's like, "What?" He's like, "You're not saying ew." And because when he was a kid, when they kissed in there, he's like, "Ew," right? As a kid, but he's like, "I'm an adult now. That's fine with me." And then he starts making fun, and then he starts comparing the relationship and going, "No, this doesn't make any sense. You look like Rocky Dennis." You look at the mask, and then he says, like, them being in love is like the Beatles being produced by Nickelback, and and we don't fully get the scene in this movie, but he's like, whoa, and he great Canadian boy doing the right thing, defending one of Canada's greatest exports in Nickelback. Great band, by the way. I do enjoy that band.
I will agree that they're a great band. I will also vehemently disagree that they're one of Canada's greatest exports.
Well, better export than Justin Bieber, that's for sure.
I mean, Justin Bieber was successful.
So was Nickelback.
I mean, to an extent.
Yeah, but they're not annoying like Justin Bieber. But
well, if you ask anybody about Nickelback, I mean, the reason why this scene is in the movie is because Nickelback is widely viewed as one of the most annoying rock bands of all time.
But still one of the most successful rock bands. They're insanely successful rock band, though. That's the thing. That's where Deadpool comes in. He says they multi-millions. They've sold millions of albums. So it's true and it's not true at the same time.
I mean, Logan Paul has sold millions of bottles of Prime. It doesn't mean that Prime is good. Prime is still really bad and awful.
It's not that bad.
It really is compared to other energy drinks around the same level. It's way off.
I've had Prime. It's not that bad. It's better really than some energy drinks. It's better than a bunch of the energy drinks I've drank in my life. Taste has way better taste, more flavor options.
Give me a Monster any day of the week. Give me a Red Bull any day of the week. Give me a Kickstart any day of the week.
But I love just the defense of Nickelback, and if you go on YouTube to watch the extended scene,
it's so much better. Oh, I love it. I love the defense. And in promotion of Deadpool 3, Nickelback actually defends Deadpool, which is again, it's such great continuity to Ryan Reynolds being a Canadian and all kinds of fun stuff that comes out of Canada. We'll talk more about a Canada line that I absolutely adore later on in the movie.
Sounds good. And then they do go back to them being after they've had sex, and then this is where she does die.
Yeah. And I love how they come back to this, and Fred Savage looks at her and goes, "You fridged Vanessa," and Deadpool,
yes,
with the most sarcastic look on his mask, goes, "I don't know this term."
Oh,
Andre,
so good.
Could you please elaborate on what the term fridging means in the comic book universe?
Fridging was invented by fans reacting to a Green Lantern comic where they found Kyle Rayner's girlfriend dead in a fridge. And fridging is essentially where you take a female character, kill her for the sake of giving the protagonist a reason to do what he needs to do in the movie.
Solely for the reason of motivating the hero.
And that is literally what happens here.
Oh, absolutely. This is absolutely a fridging. And this is not the first time we've heard the term fridging, because if you remember when we were doing our She-Hulk reviews, She-Hulk at one point right before the end of the season goes, "Am I getting fridged?"
Yeah, she makes the joke. Yeah, 100%.
Fridging is a very, very common thing to do in the comic books. It was done repeatedly. Spider-Man feels like was one that comes to mind an awful lot about having girlfriends fridged.
Gwen Stacy, Mary Jane has been fridged. Mary Jane has been fridged multiple times
in multiple timelines.
Oh my god.
But yeah, so we get this continuation where Deadpool tries to defend that they're not fridging Vanessa. And he talks about how, well, at the end of the movie, I'm going to go save her, so it's okay. I'm not fridging her.
And then he compares it to Mufasa.
Which is a great comparison because Mufasa just opened to a spectacular failure in the box office.
Yeah, that I didn't expect that movie to do super well. Again, who cares about the backstory of the guy who died?
So here's the thing, though. The film that it's coming off the backs of, the original Lion King live action that they did grossed $1 billion. Mm-hmm. So they were like, "Oh, well, people will come see this too." Like, I planned on seeing it at some point, and I still
it's on video.
Huh?
When it's on video.
No, I'll probably go watch it in the cinema.
You know what I went out to see this past weekend in the theater?
Was it Once Upon a Deadpool?
No, it was Sonic. I went to Sonic 3. So good. So good.
We continue on with the movie where Wade is trying to kill himself repeatedly.
Oh my God. there's so many good scenes that weren't in the original movie in here.
Yeah, well, I'm going to focus on only one of them because I think it's the only one that we need to focus on.
There's two great ones. So there's the polar bear diving into the polar bear pit in front of the children.
That was in the original.
Was it? I don't remember. I do not.
That's
remember
in.
that.
Oh, I'll rephrase that. I only watched the super duper cut. It is in the super duper cut.
It's not in the original because I know I've only
Captain
ever watched the regular
Pants
cut.
one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's in the super.
I've never seen that. I've never seen that one because I've only ever watched the regular cut of Deadpool 2, and I watched Once Upon a Deadpool for the first time this year. So, yeah.
No, it's in the super duper cut.
But I know which one you want to talk about. It is.
I want to talk about the one that wasn't in any of the other versions of this movie, which is Wade is getting ready to unalive himself, shall we say, with a gun. Yes. And two old people sit on the bench with him, and they're very familiar looking old people.
And one of them has a balloon.
Yes, they're very familiar people. One of them has a balloon. And he's like, come on, there are plenty of other benches. And they sit right next to him. And he's like, well, and he leans over to the old lady. And he goes, I loved your working up. And then he unalives himself, or at least attempts to.
Oh, my God. And they cuts the friend like, what? Like, it's just, oh, my God. Like, it's just so good. It's so good here.
Yeah. After all of these, it then cuts directly to the exploding barrels. It doesn't do the whole prolonged intro to that where he makes fun of Logan. And all that kind of,
which I did miss. I did miss in this. I did miss that, yeah.
But we then get to the part where he sees Vanessa in the afterlife, but he gets brought back to life because he still has his healing ability. And Colossus goes ahead and takes him home in a bag full of body parts.
And then we get
Colossus.
We get some scenes in there. Negasonic Teenage Warhead's back, and Yukio.
Look, yes, we get to finally talk about one of my favorite characters in all of the versions of Deadpool. We get to talk about Yukio.
I love her. He's always like, hey, I love it.
She says like 6 words, like 6 actual words, not like she talks repeatedly, but almost all of her sentences are hi Wade.
Or goodbye Wade at what later on in the movie. Just goodbye Wade. Yeah.
I do also love the line here where she's introducing Wade to her girlfriend Yukio, and Wade starts to like say, he's like, what the? And she's like, come on, be better than this. He's like, hold on, Fox and friends. I'm fine with this. I'm just surprised she's dating you. Which I just thought was great because it continues. The chemistry between Hildebrand and Ryan Reynolds is top tier. It was great in the first movie. It was great in the second movie. And honestly, having looked back again now, I really think it's kind of upsetting that she wasn't in the third.
Other than the couple scenes at the beginning and the couple scenes at the end, barely.
But she has no real involvement, and the chemistry between the two of them was really, really fun.
In reality, the final third of that movie, when they went back to the universe to save it, should have been Colossus, Negasonic, and
all of them should have been there.
Showing up to help those two. In helping them fight off the Deadpools, they really should have been there.
I think
Peter Pool, having Peter Pool there was great. I loved having Peter Pool, but they needed to be there for just the connect. It was missing, and yeah.
Obviously, now we go through a period of time where Wade is living at the X Mansion, trying to be a better version of himself. Because Vanessa says his heart's not in the right place.
And then they go to the point, they show Cable.
Ah, yes.
And then they cut to Fred Savage, and he goes, he says, I'm so excited for Cable
here.
And going through his very you guys are going to go really deep and in depth into his very intricate background. And Deadpool's just like, yeah.
I love how he's talking. So when Deadpool's there sitting in front of him, he basically knows nothing about Deadpool or anything else. But when it comes to Cable, he literally recites what should be essentially the Wikipedia for Cable.
Yep.
He knows his father. He knows his mother. He knows that the mother was a clone. Basically, he recites the entire Cable section of X-Men 98.
97, yeah.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Which is
I
great.
forgot. I was watching the scene. I'm like, oh, this is so good. And then just watching Deadpool just be like, yeah. Just having like a reaction of sure. Like how it was so good.
Josh Brolin's Cable really, really gets shortchanged in this movie when you think back to it now. After having watched X-Men 97.
Yeah, he really did. But again, it was the Fox first, though.
Yeah. But knowing how intricate Ryan Reynolds tries to make these movies, it's interesting. It's interesting to see how much help he got from Fox to do the things he wanted to do, to tell stories the right way, versus when he finally got the opportunity to work with Disney, and Disney basically gave him a blank check and said, here, do what you want. After coming up with almost 100 pitches for Deadpool 3.
Yeah. Again, it ended up being a great movie, but I have issues with Deadpool 3 and watching it back for like the 5th or 6th time. I'm going, I guess I only like second or third time. I haven't watched the movie a lot. And I'm going, and as the more I watch it, I'm like, man, this movie fails in points. It's a great movie the first time you watch it.
It does, but again, we'll save that for another time.
Yeah.
This is where we finally meet Russell Collins, who is a new unstable mutant at an orphanage that is called the Mutant Re-Education Center. However, I've missed this in the movie every time. Owned by the Essex Corporation.
Oh, really?
According to Wikipedia, this movie has this as an Essex Corporation subsidiary, which would make a lot of sense, considering it was a Mutant Re-Education Center. AKA, this is essentially the same building as the New Mutants.
Yeah, pretty much.
I can't wait for us to eventually be able to talk about the New Mutants, because
we don't talk about X-Men in this walkthrough, or we would have had a lot more movies we talk about.
I know we will at some point.
Maybe once the rebound's done, maybe we'll do an X-Men rebound. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. We then see Wade, Negasonic Teenage Warhead, Yukio, and Colossus show up to try to deal with Russell, who has lost his head and is trying to kill everybody.
And I love the trainee shirt.
Yes, he has on a little Gambit style
like a half shirt,
top, that says trainee. But he doesn't put it over the katanas. He just puts it like on and then put the katanas in, so it doesn't go all the way down.
Well, yeah, because he has it on like he's wearing a regular shirt, but it's riding up his back because of the pack for his katanas. So he
doesn't put it over the katanas. He just leaves it there. There are some great lines here. He calls the creepy prison guard at this facility Jared Kushner at one point.
Mm-hmm. And then they do call out that he says the X-Men is a dated reference for racism in the 60s, and it goes for the fist bump.
Tries to fist bump the black cop. Yep, that was great.
I laughed so hard at that.
There's a lot of good here. There's the Justin Bieber reference, as Russell calls Negasonic Teenage Warhead Justin Bieber.
And then when the fight happens and DP gets knocked through the wall, we get the Wolverine Wheaties, and he signs it Ryan Reynolds.
Yep. And then he goes down and he takes his sword and he throws it, and just the shaft end hits Russell right in the forehead and knocks him out. Fantastic work. Great job. And then as he's getting ready to go, the child, obviously, they're putting the shock collar, they're putting the power dampening collar on him. Yeah. And he looks, he goes, that would have been helpful in the first act.
So good. So good.
He then redoes the Colossus 4 or 5 times to be a hero speech.
Yeah.
From the first movie.
Yep.
He redoes this here as he starts shooting the people who work for the facility because they're abusing these poor children.
Mm-hmm.
Which leads to Deadpool being put into a power dampening cuff and taken to the icebox.
Exactly what he wanted.
Well, yes and no.
Well, it's what he wanted. He wanted the collar.
Yes, he wanted the collar. I don't think he necessarily wanted to go to the icebox.
But he got what he wanted. He got his collar. And then we get probably one of my favorite cameos in this movie.
All right, go ahead then.
So Cable comes through to the now in the movie, and there's two rednecks on the back of a truck.
Mm-hmm.
The two rednecks are played by Alan Tudyk, the one on the right, and the one on the left in heavy makeup is Matt Damon. And I didn't know that it was Matt Damon until a couple of years later when I read about it. I'm like, that's Matt Damon. And then I went back and looked. I'm like,
if you listen, you can hear Matt Damon.
But even then, he's putting an accent on. So if you're not really paying attention, you don't realize it's Matt Damon. It's not Matt Damon. Still one of World Police, still one of my favorite movies of all time. But it's just, I love that little piece. And then Cable like knocking them both out and stealing their truck. Oh, so good here. So good.
Yep. So now that Cable's here, he travels to the icebox. Wade talks about how he can't do anything to save the child at this point. He's at his lowest point. He says that his only superpower right now is rampant cancer.
He calls himself a ball of cancer, and then he says he might as well be Hawkeye. I was like,
Hawkeye.
You're so mean. It's one of my favorite heroes. But
Hawkeye is the most useless superhero in the world, though.
But he's the one hero that any average person could technically become with enough hard work. You could either be Hawkeye or the Green Arrow with enough hard work.
Sure.
It's true. You could.
It is definitely a possibility.
Yeah. Those are the two superheroes that any average human could become.
We then get a fight between Deadpool and Cable, to which Cable tells him he's from the future, and he asks a bunch of random questions. But my favorite is dubstep still a thing?
Because we're going to get it later in the movie.
My question is, was dubstep ever a thing?
Oh, yeah.
Because dubstep is by far the worst version of music that was ever created.
Dubstep still is a thing, man.
Dubstep is the worst thing that's been ever created.
Dubstep is forever, man.
No, dubstep is certainly not forever. Dubstep needs to die a death real soon.
It's not that bad. I've heard far worse than that.
Wade gets a hold of Cable's special gun. He shoots. They go through a thing. Cable's telling him how he wants to kill Russell, and he goes, "You're so dark. Are you sure you're not from the DC universe?" Wade at this point also at one point calls himself Batman.
That is true. And we did skip over Black Tom.
I was going to leave Black Tom alone, but yes, we can talk about Black Tom Cassidy.
Black Tom Cassidy. I just want to go because again, it comes up as one of my favorite jokes. A little bit later, is he's the guy essentially causing them all trouble in the prison. He's got like the shot collar in the prison, and it's Black Tom Cassidy is a white guy, which is funny in what will come in the joke.
Yes, because Wade will make a joke about that later on. Jack Cassidy does a very good job here. I do love Jack Cassidy's work in this movie. It's fine. He is delightful being the prison bad guy. He's great.
Yeah, he does a good job with terrorizing them in this movie.
White Wade Wilson was another name that after finding out his name is Black Tom Cassidy, he goes, "My name's White Wade Wilson."
Mm-hmm.
It ends up with both Cable and Deadpool being shot out of the prison, falling down a big, massive hill, to which Deadpool hits his head on a rock and starts to sink, where he gets his second opportunity with Vanessa.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I just can't figure out where my heart's supposed to be. And he's talking about things that are going on. And, it wasn't what I was doing, and it wasn't with the X-Men. And then he realizes the kid. Because Deadpool 2 is a family film. Something else we forgot to talk about from
You
the
said it at the start of the movie. Deadpool is a family film.
Yeah, this again. I love this thing with Vanessa basically being able to lead him to where he needs to be throughout this entire movie. It's very well done.
Yeah,
you really can't complain too much about it.
Yeah.
Wade gets himself home, and he's talking to Weasel, T.J. Miller's last appearance in the Marvels. In anything Marvel based, and probably his last appearance in anything comic book based, or anything for the foreseeable future. And they decide to get back on LinkedIn to get a team together. Which Dopinder is very angry because Dopinder has become an intern at the mercenary house here. And he's asked what his superpower is, and he says, courage. In ways like that's adorable. Now go do something else. And we start to see Wade forming X-Force.
X-Force. Oh, they didn't call it that until they're on the plane, but
no, he talks about he talks about forming a team young enough that they can take the franchise for 10 to 20 years on their own.
Even though half of X-Force is old guys.
Yes.
Particularly.
In this, we can talk about X-Force being
Go. I got the list right here.
Go for it.
So we have Terry Crews playing Bedlam.
Yeah.
We've got Chris Tan as Shatterstar. We've got Bill Skarsgård, who I absolutely love, and his dad isn't his dad in Thor.
Yes.
Yeah, his dad's in Thor. He plays Zeitgeist, who spits the acid. Shatterstar can do everything you can do, but better. And Bedlam actually don't. Oh, he has the electrical.
Yeah, he can code the electric impulses in anything, including the ones in our mind.
And then we get our debut of Peter.
Peter Wisdom, by the way, is the character's name.
Peter Wisdom. And then we get Vanisher.
We'll talk more about Vanisher later.
Oh, we will. We get Vanisher. We don't actually. We can't actually. There's just nothing there. And I was like, "That was great."
It was great. I will say Terry Crews is fantastic in this. Also, ZZ Betts as Domino.
Oh, ZZ Betts, yeah, as Domino too. Yeah.
We can't forget about the only one that actually lives through the movie. ZZ Betts as Domino.
She was really, really good in this movie.
She was fantastic. She's one of my favorite things about this movie, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I thoroughly enjoy everything she did in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
As a couple of other little cameo things that we were talking about in the icebox, Omega Red is in there as well, which I thought was funny. I didn't notice it until this portrayal. I didn't notice that Omega Red was in there.
Yeah,
which is a callback to which is another callback to Logan and what's his name? Hugh Jackman, because Omega Red is a villain that was teased, I believe, in the Wolverine. Yeah, I don't think he's in the Wolverine, but I think that they teased the idea of the armor.
Yeah, they did.
So they decide to go ahead and get Russell off of the out of the prison.
Oh, the convoy transport, right?
Well, yes, but they want to get him out of the prison, and they realize that they're being transported.
Yeah.
So they're going to go ahead and do that. Meanwhile, while they're getting ready to do that, Weasel is taken captive by Cable. And Cable starts to threaten great violence upon him.
This is the scene I don't remember. I do not remember that this was not in the original version of this. This
is absolutely in the Super Duper cut. I don't know if it's in the original, but I know it's in the Super Duper cut, and I know it was in this cut too.
Yeah, it was not in the original cut.
It's a great scene where he's like, first I'm gonna do. He's like, stop before you even get to 1. We're not gonna get to 2. We're probably not gonna get through 1. I'll tell you everything I know except where they are and what they're doing. And then he proceeds to tell them exactly where they are and what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. That was great. I love that.
And there's a key line in this that is something that will take place later on. He says there's a high wind advisory in effect. Which we get to X-Force in the helicopter. And Deadpool calls himself Jesus. He says that they're all brought together by a higher power, meaning himself. And Domino looks at Bedlam and goes, did he just call himself Jesus?
This won't be the last time.
Nope, it will not be the last time. And he starts yelling at every time somebody else asks a question, he continues to yell at Peter.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes over and whispers in Peter's ear loudly. Like he goes over to whisper to Peter, but he's talking at normal volume, telling him that he's just trying to look cool for the other guys. Don't take any offense to anything he's saying. And then they all jump out of the airplane.
I didn't notice it till the rewatch. Deadpool literally boots Peter out because he sits down and is nervous. Deadpool kicks him out of the plane. I never noticed it until this rewatch.
Yep, he does that indeed.
Yeah.
And they're all coming down and everything's great. And then all of a sudden, the winds pick up and Deadpool gets hung on a sign.
Yep.
And then everything goes terribly wrong.
Oh,
Bedlam crashes into an oncoming bus and dies. Shatterstar
helicopter
into the helicopter blades of the rotating blades of the helicopter.
Yeah.
Zeitgeist ends up in a.
Whoa. They don't go to Zeitgeist yet because next is Vanisher. Because Vanisher hits the power line, and this is where we reveal who's playing Vanisher.
The multi-million-dollar cameo that was one phone call from Ryan Reynolds to a buddy of his, Brad Pitt.
Yeah. And then the cut from the shock to the bedroom. And he's just amazed. Fred's amazed that it's Brad Pitt. And then Deadpool reveals that he kidnapped Brad Pitt. And he's keeping him in his basement, along with Matt Damon and Celine Dion.
Yes. Who did the intro to the movie that we didn't see in this version.
Yeah. And then we get one of my favorite Fred Savage scenes here, where he talks about wanting to fight Matt Damon. But every time he says fight, Deadpool presses the button to beep him. So it's sounding like he wants to fuck Matt Damon. Just like Sarah Silverman wants to fuck Matt Damon.
I think Jimmy Kimmel might have had an issue with Sarah Silverman doing that.
Well, no, because she literally did a song years ago called "Fucking Matt Damon." That's all I could think about when I was hearing this scene. Is
it's a very long scene where he's doing this, and he's talking about doing it in front of an arena full of people. It
drags part way, but it's still a great joke.
They played it way too long. I love the joke in the beginning. They took it too far, as Deadpool typically does with 90% of the things he does. Mm-hmm. Peter lands on his feet on the ground, barely, but does land on the ground. And then Zeitgeist ends up inside of a wood chipper halfway through.
Without the blood, which was so weird.
Yes. And then as he's trying to get pulled out of the wood chipper by Peter, he vomits his acidic vomit onto Peter, which takes off Peter's arm and kills Peter as well.
Peter.
This is where Domino finally goes ahead and cuts in, and she's like, "Hey, where's the team?" And he's like, "I got good news and bad news." She's like, "All right, what's the bad news? The team is dead. What's the good news? We're still alive."
And then he gets on a scooter.
He does get on a scooter, going past an ice cream truck that says Pryor's Ice Cream.
Yeah, Madeline Pryor.
Yes. It's a cameo that most people miss. And it goes back to the Fred Savage scene earlier where they talk about his backstory. This is Deadpool's sure paying off by having Pryor's ice cream.
Yep. And then, okay, so the domino landing and getting onto the convoy scene is like, it's perfection, because she doesn't have traditional powers, but just everything falling around her and her flipping through stuff and landing and jumping off the bridge to land in the convoy. It was so well done. Like, just in the original version, in this version, it's just so well done.
So I want to talk a little bit about Domino here, because people constantly misconstrue what her power set is. So I want to take a moment, and they do it here too, which is really annoying, because they chalk her entire skill set up to her powers up to she's lucky, which isn't necessarily what she does. She subconsciously and telekinetically changes she manipulates probability. Yes, in layman's terms, she's lucky, but it's not as simple as just being lucky. It is the fact that she is able to go ahead and manufacture the probability of everything happening around her to always turn out in the favor that she wants.
But again, they also don't explain it in this movie. In the fact that she also says in this movie, she just doesn't know where she's going, but it's all leading her to something, right?
Yes.
And again, they also don't do a good job at explaining her powers in this movie, which is also annoying.
Yeah, because by the way, that's not her only ability. She also has enhanced reflexes and agility, and she's a martial artist in marksman.
And we see that throughout the movie.
Yeah, we see that in this next scene where she's fighting Cable.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I wish that there would have been a little bit more paid attention to the fact of more than just like, because they spend, when they're doing the team up part and they're finding the people for the team, they spend a good 5 minutes doing this back and forth. Luck isn't a superpower. Yes, it is. No, it's not. Yes, it is. Until she tricks him into saying yes, it is, and then accepts it. And it's like, they do all that when they could have explained the power set properly and let it pay off a bit more. But I guess it all pays off here with the joke where he's talking about, I just don't know how we're going to do it cinematically. And there's this great shot of like the cop car flipping over her, her running in just the right way, ducking at just the right time, jumping on everything at the right time to get her into the van and into the driver's seat of the van. Like the guy's gun doesn't fire when it should because it has a misfire. And again, it's this greatness of her superpower that doesn't work, that isn't explained. And so they make it seem better when they portray it visually. But if they just explained it, I think it would have been way cooler.
And I love that the shot that Ryan Reynolds, the Deadpool makes here. And who the hell would create a superhero with powers like that? The same person that created you, asshole, Rob Liefeld.
Yes,
he
says,
does make the joke.
Must be a guy who's an idiot who can't draw feet.
Yeah, and we did get that was paid off in Deadpool and Wolverine very well.
Yeah, this continues till we get the scenes between Domino and Deadpool in various scenes fighting Cable. And they're great. They're fantastic. There's not a lot to write home about in these scenes. They're really good.
And this is where we get. And this is where we get the death of Black Tom.
Yes.
Which leads us to some of the best jokes from Deadpool towards Cable and calling him a racist throughout the rest of the movie. Very good. Well done in that point.
Yeah. As we continue here, we also see Deadpool doing the splitting of the bullets. Like
the sword spinning?
Yeah.
In Origins there, when he spun the swords in Origins? Yeah, that was so good.
I wrote that down. The bullet in half. And he does it here, and he splits the bullet in half, and then Cable starts unloading bullet after bullet through him. And he blocks like 2 of them, and then the rest just goes straight through him. And he looks back, and you just see the bullet holes. It's great. I love that.
Oh, so good. So good.
But all of this is done to find out who the big bad is that was being held at the icebox. Because we didn't mention it in our review, but earlier in the movie they mentioned, he's not the biggest, baddest guy here. There is one, and it's right next to a big pile of foreshadowing.
Mm-hmm.
And of course,
it's Juggernaut.
It's the Juggernaut,
bitch. Yeah. Oh, dude, I understand why they didn't bring it back, but I wish this was Vinnie Jones so badly. Oh,
the voice of this is Ryan Reynolds,
and it's actually, even what you see on the inside is his face morphed inside the helmet. Yeah,
yep. It is them saving money. He does also play as Juggernaut in this. Mm-hmm. We get a great scene where Deadpool's a big fan of Juggernaut, talking about all the comics he's in, and Juggernaut rips him in half.
And Fred's reaction to it was absolute perfect.
Well, Fred's reaction. Well, we'll get to Fred's reaction in a minute, because Fred's reaction come before or after everybody else?
It cuts, and then you just like, what? And then it cuts back, and then we get him back home.
So Deadpool is sitting back home, as he calls Winnie the Poohing it, where he has a shirt on with no pants.
Yeah,
and he has baby legs because they're still
little
growing.
Toddler legs. Yeah.
And we see Weasel walk in, and he says he's straight shirt cocking it. And then we see Dopinder come in, and he's like, not again.
And then this is where we get to Fred Savage.
Then they before they get to Domino, they cut to Fred Savage. And Fred has the biggest point that I've always missed and I've never thought of. And I love that it's included in here.
Yeah, it's perfection.
So we understand in the first movie, the only regeneration of Deadpool we see in the first movie is the hand. And obviously the hand wouldn't grow an entire body because it's only a hand. But I love the idea that Fred here talks about, when you're ripped in half, do both halves start forming new halves? Does the bottom half start forming a new top? And just like the bottom half of you is starting to form a new bottom? And it's great because he talks about how there could be two Deadpools. And the more the Deadpool gets torn apart, the more Deadpools there would be. And I'm like, that would have been a cool thing to do.
And he's like, will he return? Like, will the bottom half Deadpool return? And he goes, this is why I prefer Marvel.
And Deadpool again gets very angry. He says that Marvel is buying Fox. I thought it was funny because I don't remember if.
Oh, it was known by this point.
Okay, I was gonna say, do we know?
Well, by the time Once Upon a Deadpool came out, it was known.
Okay, that's the part I wanted to know. Is at that point had we been found out?
Oh yeah.
This then we get into our final third act fight of the night. Cable comes walking in. Well, sorry, Domino freaks out because she walks in and she's like, "Oh my god!" And he's like, "Come on, what the hell, people?" And she's like, "No, I've never seen you without your mask on." And this leads to T.J. Miller
which is true. Which is true. It's the first time she's seen him without a mask. Yeah.
Yeah. To which means T.J. Miller tries to do his avocado fucking another avocado.
That wasn't great.
No. I wish that he would have come up with a new one as opposed to just using an old one from the first movie. And then we get Cable coming in, and Cable says, "Look, Russell killed my family, so I need to kill Russell before he kills. Because if I can stop him before he gets going, we can stop him." And Deadpool's like, "Look, you can't kill him. I won't let you kill him, but I'll come help you stop him. I'll make it so he doesn't kill nobody." And they agree that Deadpool's going to get 30 seconds to try to save Russell before Cable tries to kill him.
And there was a great joke in here, and they make a lazy writing joke, and then it cuts to Fred Savage saying, "Oh, making a bad writing joke to cover up actual bad writing." And I was like, I like that. It's a good scene.
Something I wish more movies would do. Just write better the first time so you don't have to make a joke about lazy writing.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get the great fight scenes that are involved in the third act fight scenes.
Well, first we get Deadpool back at the X Mansion, holding his cell phone up, trying to get them Colossus and Negasonic.
Oh yes, the boombox scene from what is this? It's one of the John Hughes movies.
It's the lawnmower movie, isn't it?
Yeah,
I don't remember which one.
yeah,
Can't
but
trust-
it's
Can't Buy Me
him
Love?
holding up the boombox. It's the boombox being held up.
That Can't Buy Me Love, is it?
I don't think so.
No. I don't remember. It's one of them.
It's one of those,
Yell,
John.
yell at us in the comments, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us exactly how dumb we are in the comments by telling us what movie we're forgetting here. But yeah, no, we then get after that, we get where he tries to get Colossus to come back. Colossus says no, he's too hurt. And so Yukio and Negasonic come with him though.
Mhm.
And them plus Domino plus Dopinder plus Cable go to fight Juggernaut and Russell. And this is great. I love.
No, Negasonic and Yukio show up at a different point. Show up later.
Do they show up with Colossus at the end?
Yeah, they kind of show up with him. Yeah.
All right. This is where Domino says that she now knows why she's here. This is because this is where she was raised, which is fun to know.
Mhm.
Dopinder gets a joke made. Juggernaut makes a comment about the taxi driver, so Dopinder decides to go back to his taxi cab.
Smart.
And Shadow.
And then the fight with Juggernaut. So they get into the fight, and Deadpool's riding him with his swords, trying to get the helmet off, and he starts doing, the sun is getting real low, from Ultron. Oh my god, I laughed so hard at that joke. I forgot about it completely, and I was like, oh my god, yes.
We then get to a scene where Cable's using his guns to fight, and Deadpool's out of bullets again, and he doesn't have his swords with him at this point because he lost them in Juggernaut's shoulder.
Yeah.
So he picks up a brick and uses it as a weapon. And at one point he yells, "Did we get that in slow motion?"
I love that he picks up the brick. He's like, maximum effort with a brick. I'm just like, oh my god, so good. And then
they get to him confronting Russell, and Russell,
because they get because they take out Juggernaut because
with
Colossus and his crew show up, and then Yukio using her electric grip, showing off her powers. Colossus shoving the wire up Juggernaut's ass and then the Negasonic using the concussive blast to send him into the water and pretty much taking him out. Great. That is a great way to take out Juggernaut.
Yeah, it was fun. Wade tries to talk Russell into stopping, but it doesn't happen. He gives Russell a hug, and Russell says, "I can't trust you. I can't trust anybody." He uses his fire fist ability on Wade and blows him halfway across the yard. But Wade did manage to get one of the power dampening collars and puts it on himself. And he starts trying to tell him that, look, if you want to kill somebody, fine, but you're going to have to kill me. It's not going to be the guy who's torturing you and abused you. You're going to have to kill me first if you want to kill. And at this point, Cable decides that he's just going to kill him anyways. And Wade jumps in front of Cable's bullet, and the bullet hits Wade. And we get the longest death scene in the history of movies.
My God, it would not end, man. Jesus.
And the super duper cut is even longer, by the way.
Oh, is it?
It is. Jesus. It is even longer. But this is great. I do love this. It's a fun way of Wade talking to everybody and giving them their last, goodbyes, and he gets Colossus to say fuck.
And then he makes fun of him.
Yeah, and then he makes fun of him for swearing.
So good.
Yeah. But this causes Cable, when he points out to Cable that Cable's going to be okay because the bear has turned back to from a charred remains of his daughter's bear, has now become a normal teddy bear again. So he knows that the future has changed itself, which isn't how time travel works. We found that out in Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, but this is the Fox verse, not the.
I know. I'm just saying. I like to make fun of it. But this is where Cable decides to go back to the beginning of this scene, and he takes Vanessa's coin that he'd stolen from Deadpool.
Whoa. So we do get the Deadpool dies, and he goes to heaven. He does his thing with Vanessa first. Yeah. And then they do the kiss, and this is where you get the Fred Savage crying, and he's caught up. I didn't expect this because this movie's so bad. So good.
Yeah.
And then we get the Cable going back inside.
And this time, when him and Deadpool were talking, and Deadpool made a joke, this time he grabs Deadpool and he slides the coin in where the bullet will eventually go. And then they fast forward to the point where Deadpool gets shot, but this time the bullet hits the coin, which is the same skee ball token that Vanessa had gave him as an anniversary, that he gave Vanessa as an anniversary gift in the beginning of the movie, which goes all the way back to them playing skee ball in the first movie on their first date. It's wonderful. They have a long thing where Deadpool makes fun of Cable for wanting him to live, and he used up his last of his power so that he could go ahead and save Wade because he loves Wade.
Yep.
And then the headmaster's on his way out, and he's doing a long monologue, and Dopinder drives the taxi right through him.
That was so good. So he
And
finally gets another kill.
Yep. And that's basically the end of the movie. We'll talk about the mid and post-credit scenes in a moment.
Yep.
But that was basically the end of this movie. We get a great mid-credit scene where Negasonic and Yukio are repairing.
At the end of the movie, before they go to mid credits, Deadpool and Fred start talking about after credit scenes and how they love them, and they wrap up everything. I was like, I like that, and then they end up cutting over to the mid credits.
They're repairing the time device for Wade, and Wade uses it to save Peter, Vanessa. He also uses it to go ahead and kill himself while he's confronting Wolverine in Wolverine Origins. He also kills Ryan Reynolds as he finishes reading the script for the first time for Green Lantern.
Again, not as bad of a movie as people shit on it for.
I love Green Lantern. I think it's a great time. It's not a good movie. I have a great time watching it.
I have a great time watching it every time. It's not an objectively good movie. I still enjoy it though.
It is the best Green Lantern has ever been in any of the actual live action movies. And it will remain that way after Superman Superman debuts in 2025.
Nathan Fillion's gonna rock it out, baby.
No,
Guy
Gardner
Gardner for the win.
Gardner looks like already. No, he will not.
Oh, he looks fine.
People
are just negative.
We also get a post-credit scene with Fred and Deadpool where he says, "Can you cut me out of here now?" Because the movie's over, and he does. And Fred can't feel his feet and can't walk. And the camera keeps pulling back and back and back, and we see there's a soundstage.
And he's Winnie the Poohing it too.
Because he has no pants on, because Wade dressed him and only gave him the bear shirt. Da Bears.
Da Bears.
Also, I forgot to mention it. I forgot to mention it during the movie, but I wanted to mention it because I talked about the great T.J. Miller Canada joke. When they're talking about Shatterstar, and Shatterstar that he's better than everybody at everything. Wade says, "I can't wait to go to a planet with a bunch of people who are functional idiots." And then T.J. Miller goes, "Isn't that Canada?" And he's correct. That's exactly right. It is just Canada.
Yeah, we're the country that elected the Trump. Yeah, we're the idiots. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that. Functional idiots. Yeah. And to which Wade says, "Get the name of my country out your goddamn mouth." I love when they take jokes at Canada's expense for Ryan Reynolds. It's great. Again, people in this movie that everybody did a fantastic job. I don't think there's one bad acting performance in this whole movie. Ryan is fantastic. Josh Brolin is a great Cable. The character's written poorly, and they didn't do enough with the backstory to make me care about why Cable is Cable.
But he does a good job.
Josh does a very good job with what he was given. Marina Baccarin playing Vanessa again. Fantastic.
Fridged. It's barely there.
Fridged, but everything she did in this movie was really good. I really appreciate all the work that she did. Because she is, while being fridged in those heavenly scenes, it continues to push the narrative of the story where it needs to be. And at least it had a narrative pushing effect. And so for that, I give her all the credit in the world. Young actor named Julian Dennison I believe he's Australian or South African. I forget. Hold on. Julian Dennison is New Zealand. He's a New Zealand actor. Great job. I thought he did fantastic in this movie.
Yeah,
I thought Russell was very well.
Fire Fist, right? You're talking about Fire Fist, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did a great job.
You know, all the other characters are kind of, characters doing their part to make the movie go along, whether it be Sholi Kutsani as Yukio, whether it be Eddie Marsden playing the headmaster for the Essex Home of Mutant Rehabilitation. All kinds of great things. Leslie Uggams is fantastic again, as always. Karan Sani is fantastic as Dopinder again.
Mm-hmm.
There's all kinds of great stuff in this. I can't recommend this movie enough. Honestly, if you're going to watch this movie in any way, shape, or form, please, for the love of God, only watch the Super Duper cut. If you have a choice of any 3 versions of this movie, just watch the Super Duper cut. It is the best version of this movie. By far and away.
All right.
There's not a ton added, but it adds in some fun stuff like him trying to kill baby Hitler. So the time sequence where we talked about what he did? At the end of it, there's a final post-credit scene in Deadpool 2 Super Duper cut where he shows up in the crib with baby Hitler and he's trying to kill him and he can't. And he's torn because he knows he should do this. The age-old question, if there was somebody so evil that they take over the world, what should you do? And people always say, well, you should go back to him as where he was a baby and just kill him then. So Deadpool shows up at the crib of an A Hitler in a German hospital. And at the end, he grabs the baby and takes him and he goes, I'm going to bring you to my friend Cable. He loves killing kids.
But that problem I have with that, he's in a German, but he's Austrian though.
Oh, he might have been Austria.
I was going to say Hitler's Austrian.
It is what it is. So, Andre, it is time for your favorite game. And by the way, I have numbers for both now on both sections. So, Deadpool 2. What did it gross as Deadpool 2 in all incarnations in the movie cinema on the box office?
Oh, Jesus. Like 650 mil?
Let's see. Original release. All right.
You said everything. You said everything.
Yeah, everything all together was $734 million. $734.5 million.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. There was a 2020 re-release in Australia that made $165.
Okay.
However, there was a 17-day release in the movie theaters in 2018 in which Deadpool 2 came out again. And this was Once Upon a Deadpool. 16 days. How much do you think this made worldwide? It came out over Christmas. It opened on the 12th.
I don't know, like 50 million. 50 million.
Very good. 51.3 million. Yep.
Nice.
It made $6 million domestically and $45 million worldwide. Internationally, I should say.
That makes more sense.
However, Andre, how did the people feel about Deadpool 2? Regular Deadpool 2. Critic score.
Again, I always think they're assholes, but the number's never as bad as I think, and this isn't a particularly bad movie.
415 official reviews on Rotten Tomatoes for this.
81.
Very close. 84. Out of 25,000 fan ratings, what is the popcorn meter on Deadpool 2 as a whole?
Let's say 80, 90.
86. A little bit lower.
Okay, not bad.
Once Upon a Deadpool. 60 reviews from the critics.
Oh, gotta be 100%. Come on. No, I'm gonna say like 75.
Invert those numbers for me, buddy.
57?
Once Upon a Deadpool's tomato meter score from 60 reviews of critics is a 57. What do you think the popcorn meter is for 1,000+ reviews of this movie?
Yeah, it's probably near the same. Something like say like 85.
61.
What?
I will.
What? It's not that bad.
I don't know what people had against this movie when they did their reviews. Maybe if you do a review, it'll bump it up a bit. But yeah, nope. Fans nor critics liked Once Upon a Deadpool. I think it's fine. Again, it is my least favorite of the three versions. I would rather watch the theatrical. I would rather watch the edited release with basically everything. Then I would prefer to watch the theatrical release, and then there's this version.
Yeah.
Mostly because it's an R-rated movie for a reason, and I think it loses some of the things that make Deadpool Deadpool when you censor it.
True. I agree with you there.
And I think that's why the low ratings. I think it's mostly because the bleeps are so predominant throughout the entire movie because they don't edit the movie with the language. They just decide to take the censor bleep to it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Andre, thank you for joining me on this holiday edition of Marvel Talk. Make sure that everybody, we're going to be on here all week. We're going to be plugging all of our stuff, so don't worry about us doing plugs here. The only plug we're going to give is tomorrow night. If you're watching this when it releases, tomorrow night, Thursday, 12/26, Kimmy Sokol's last appearance on Honor Ramble as a regular contributor is coming up, and we would greatly appreciate it if you could show up and show some love to Kimmy Sokol. She's done a fantastic job here with our local establishment. She is an amazing young lady who has all of the opportunities ahead of her, and if she's dropping wrestling media, it's got to be for something absolutely incredible. The convention queen, Kimmy Sokol herself, her last episode of Ring of Honor's review show on a Ramble, 10:15 Eastern, Thursday night. So please make sure, if you do nothing else for us, please, for me and Andre, go ahead and check that out because Kimmy has been fantastic to all of us here at our local establishment. But for myself, for Andre C., Merry Christmas, and we'll see you tomorrow for another edition of Marvel Talk What If Miss. Goodbye.
Ho, 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 ho.